I'm talking to you now, I'm talking to you from two different completely perspectives. First, I'm talking to you as a nurse and having experienced what I've just gone through. And secondly, I'm talking to you as a family member who was given the final authority to make all medical decisions on behalf of my brother who was dying with cancer. So one of the goals of care that he wanted was he wanted to make sure that his pain was managed. And that was a huge issue for him. And because he had an enlarged spleen and other things going on physiologically, his pain management was very tricky. He was on very high doses of medication such as methadone, oxycodone, lorazepam, and these things to keep him comfortable. The first initial thing was to give him oral meds. So we started in on giving him liquid methadone, liquid oxycodone, and liquid lorazepam. And as the time progressed throughout the day, we kept dosing him up, and we were giving it to him sublingually. And what was happening was he seemed peaceful and he seemed fairly comfortable, but what I did notice was that his laboring of his respirations seemed to be there a little bit, and I didn't feel like we had complete tight control. Like we had control, but we were giving such large doses of liquids that I wasn't feeling so comfortable with it. I decided to pick up my stethoscope as the nursing side of me, and I put it to his chest. And when I listened and heard what was going on in the chest, I just nearly dropped to the ground, because the first thought that came to me now on the clinical side of it is, oh my gosh, we are dosing him with such large amounts of liquid medication that he's aspirating it. He's taking it down his lungs. And the last thing I wanted with my brother was to see him die of aspiration. I wanted him to be comfortable. I didn't want him choking on all the medication we were giving him. That caused a tremendous amount of grief. And my nurse, my fellow nurse, who was not there at the time because of the COVID crisis, had left the Macy Catheter in the home already. I had already reviewed the Macy Catheter. I pulled it out. I looked over everything to make sure that when I had gotten to this point, if I needed it, I would know how to use it. Even though I had gone through all the training, I just never practically used it. And I could kick myself, hindsight now, looking back at how many patients and families could have benefited from this. But I had to, I guess, learn in my own experience. So when I found out that his lungs were filled, I immediately called my family members and said, we need to turn him, and I need to get this Macy catheter into him immediately. We turned him, I inserted the catheter, and I was able to give the medications via the catheter and lay him back on his back and get him comfortable. And when I saw the difference in how that medication was going in and the difference in him physiologically, he finally just began to just be even more calmer. The first thing I thought to myself is, why did I wait so long? So as a caregiver, if I was going to choose a hospice company that was going to be caring for my loved one, the most important thing is, what options do we have to manage those symptoms? I would not choose a hospice company that I did not feel had access to every and any type of system that I needed. And having seen my brother and what he went through, I was very grateful that we did have the Macy catheter and that we were able to use it. There is nothing in this world that is harder to do than to let someone go. And I think we all feel when we come into this world, it's such a joyous experience and everyone's gathered around. And in the same way, when someone goes out, I've always felt really strongly that although we may not feel joy during that time, it's important to know that we have done everything in our capability as a family member, as a loved one, to honor their wishes. Every single person that I've ever met says, I want it to be peaceful and I want to feel as though my symptoms are managed. And so to me, yeah, I would not pick a hospice that couldn't offer me all those opportunities and use whatever means needed to, including a Macy catheter.